But you know what? God has the propensity to use the terebinth tree. In fact, over in Genesis 12, when God was talking to Abraham about him being a blessing to the nations and God blessing his seed, it was at the terebinth tree. When David fought Goliath, it was in the valley of Elah, or translated the valley of the terebinth. When God pronounced Gideon a mighty man of valor, it was at the terebinth tree. God has the propensity of the proclivity to use the terebinth tree. When you get to the terebinth tree, not only will God bless your seed, not only will God give you victory in the valley, not only will God mark you a mighty man of valor, but he'll give you preference with people. He'll give you favor with man. In fact, when you are dealing in seasons of favor, it's just because you're at the terebinth tree. When folks ask you, how in the world are you surviving in this economy and how are you doing so well, you can just tell them, I'm at the terebinth. When folk ask you how things are going so well and why you can continue to have a smile on your face, you can just tell them, I'm at the terebinth. Has anybody ever been at the terebinth before? Has anybody can testify that even in your dry places you were still able to grow? In fact, look at verse 4. Look at verse 4. Look at verse 4. And they will greet you and give you 2 loaves of bread, which you shall receive from their hand. Look, at the terebinth, God will bless you with stuff that you didn't even ask him for. God will bless you with things that folk that didn't want you to have it, you will take it from their hand. God says when you're at the terebinth, when you're in your season of favor, folks will just give you stuff and they don't even know why they're giving it to you. They're writing a check and saying, you know, I don't like you and I never liked you, but I'm going to go ahead and write this check because it's something about you. Is there anybody in here who can testify God will give you favor with me? I'm just at the terebinth. It's at the terebinth tree. The last sign that I want to bring up is the reason why you know, or the reason how you know that you're in a favorable turning point is because when God positions people around you to pull something out of you. When God positions people around you to pull something out of you. Look at verse 5. After that, you shall come to the hill of God where the Philistines' garrison is. And it will happen that when you come there to the city, that you will meet a group of prophets coming down from the high place with stringed instruments, a tambourine, a flute, a harp before them, and saying, and they will be prophesying. Now watch who was surrounding Saul. The text says it was worshipers. Before the gift was manifested in Saul, God had to place him around some worshipers. And the reason why God had to place him around some worshipers is because Saul had to know that the people that were surrounding him knew how to get to God, knew how to call on his name, knew how. Who are you sitting around? In fact, you just need to do a pew check and say, look, if you ain't came to get no blessing, you need to get off my road, because I need to be surrounded by some worshipers. I need you to know that I'm dealing with hell and high water, and if you didn't come to get no blessing, get off my road. Do we have any praisers in the house? Do we have any worshipers in the house? Can you say, you know what, I may have lost this, I may have lost that, but one thing that I haven't lost is my praise. God wanted to get something out of Saul. wanted to get something out of Saul, and so he placed him around some worshipers. And that's who you need to surround yourself with. Because you can do bad all by yourself. You need to surround yourself with people who can hold you accountable. You need to surround yourself with people who can hold you responsible. He was surrounded by some worshipers. Surrounded by some worshipers. Now I want to call your attention. I want to call your attention to verse 7. Verse 6. Then the Spirit of the Lord will come upon you, and you will prophesy with them, and be turned into another man. In other words, what rubbed off they were so powerful in their worship that what they were doing rubbed off. I want to be so powerful in my anointing that my family gets saved. I want to be so powerful in my anointing that my friends get reclaimed. I want to be so powerful in my anointing that my family comes back together. I want to be so powerful. Has to rub off. Who have you rubbed off on lately? Who have you rubbed off on? Is your worship rubbing off on the person next to you? Is your worship? Look, there are two people in church. Folk that when you shout, they want you to be quiet. And the other type of person is when you shout, they shout with you. Now let's do this test. I just had midterm, so I'm in a testing mood. Let's do this test. Shout and see who you got sitting next to you.